It is my honor to introduce you today, Vanesa. She joined PerFinEx in December as a real estate expert and will help you guys to find the perfect properties from now on. Welcome, Vanesa.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited to work with you guys, so thanks for having me here, and yeah, looking forward to it.
The go-to websites when people search for properties in Germany are usually Immonet, Immowelt or Immoscout. Each website is showing thousands of properties basically at all times. But people tell us it's very difficult, especially for expats with a language barrier, to actually buy properties from these websites. You have been working in real estate for many years now. What do you think? How real are these offers that we see on Immoscout and the other websites?
So I think they're difficult to estimate, right? So it's also an individual examination necessary on these properties. I mean, everyone can put an offer or a real estate property or advertise it on the Immoscout, right? This is your right.
You don't even have to own it, actually.
Exactly.
You can put up whatever property you want.
Exactly. I mean, meanwhile, they charge for that, right? So back then they didn't charge anything. But I think the prices are reasonable, right? It's just that you really need an expert. You really need someone who goes there with you, who really digs into all this examination. For example, is there enough reserves on this property, right? Is there enough savings on this property? And one has to be cautious to invest into real estate, right? And my advice is really to get someone, an expert with you, who reviews all the papers, the protocols, the documents, and even to go there with you to appraise the property. Also, an important factor is that when you're checking that, or the expert with you is to check what was done in the past on this property or in this building, what is continuing to be done, and what has to be done in the future. So these three factors are very, very important: past, present, and future.
Otherwise, you might end up buying a property and in the next couple of years you have to pay tens of thousands of euros additionally, right?
Exactly. I mean, imagine if you're, I don't know, like if you have to renovate or get a new heating system or renovate the roof, right? It can cost you up to 200,000 euros, which is a lot of money. So it's better to prepare before, right? To check everything before, and if everything is fine, go ahead with that, for sure.
We all know the real estate success stories on social media, right? So great that you mentioned that also there's something that can go wrong, and it can cost you tens of thousands of euros if something goes wrong with real estate. So what do you exactly need to consider when you're buying a property here in Germany?
That's a good question. It's a very, very important question. Well, like before I mentioned, also check the savings, right? Check the reserves what this property has. Very important. Also with the example I gave you with the changing or to repairing the roof, right? Heating system. So this is very important. You need to consider the micro and macroeconomics. What I mean with micro, the area itself. Are there enough public transportation? Is there a bus stop in front of your door? Subways, train, doctors, supermarkets, schools, universities. So all these factors are very important as well. And also about the city, the area, how the city is growing in the next years, right? What was the past of this area, the city? So also have a concern about this. Macroeconomics itself surrounding, like if you scope a little bit outside, in general also Germany. I mean, our clients, they love to invest in Germany, right? So
rightfully so.
It's Germany is, if you compare it also to other countries like UK, France, Switzerland, and we still have great prices here. It's a very safe country. And on top, the legal situation, like the government gives you so many benefits if you're investing into real estate. So our clients love that, and it's also a very important factor if you're investing in Germany here.
You're actually getting benefits from the government only as a real estate investor, but we'll come to that later. Exactly. And in another video, which is different than in the UK, because the UK is actually penalizing you the more properties you have.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. Also, a big factor is the professional property manager. So if you are having a property in mind, you checked it, you checked also the documents, you also have to see what property is behind, like what property manager is behind that. Because it's very important. Otherwise, you will be left with all the administrative work. right? And you don't want that. I mean, the property manager also helps you in many things, right? But if you don't have a professional one, it's actually very bad for you. So you will end up with a lot of work.
You're not an investor, actually you have a second full-time job almost.
And you know how it is today with the time. I mean, everyone is busy, we have less and less time, so it's very important to have a property manager. Also tenant-wise, right? In most cases, there is a tenant in this property. So also check the record of this tenant. Was the tenant on time with the pay? Did the tenant pay every month the rent? Was there any vacancy? So also very important what the tenant does. Check the contract, the rental contract, because you also don't want to end up having a tenant who doesn't pay, right? And then it's you who has to pay. So yeah, be careful with that as well.
Then you're double because the tenant doesn't pay and you have to pay the bank.
Exactly.
And Germany is very protective of tenants as we are very protective of employees.
Exactly, and this is the case. And you have to give the bank the money, right? The bank will say, Axel, where is the money, right? So you have to really be on top of that, and you can't really afford any vacancy. So important to check that as well. We created a checklist. It's basically a fact sheet where you can see what is important to consider when purchasing a real estate. So 10 things to consider. I would love to share that with our community, and it's very, very helpful. Sometimes if you're a first-time real estate investor, you don't really know where to start, what to do, but by having this fact sheet and this checklist, you can kind of have an idea where to get with this. So I would love to share that.
The checklist is on our website, so hop over to perfinex.de, there you can download it and write thank you in the comments for Vanesa. Germany is a nation of renters. We have by far the lowest home ownership rate, with Switzerland. With expats coming from other countries, it's different. Some come from home owning cultures, so they also want to buy a home here in Germany. We'll talk more about the renting versus buying debate in another video, but coming back to the large German real estate websites, who do you think they're more catering to? To future homeowners or to real estate investors?
Well, I would say it's for both, right? But it's primarily for homeowners. I mean, everyone can advertise the property in Immobilienscout, as we mentioned before. You can also find great offers and reasonable offers on Immobilienscout, or don't get me wrong, but I believe it's more for homeowners, right? And what we offer to our clients is off-market properties. Why off-market? I mean, off-market means out of the market, so the properties are not even advertised in Immobilien, per mail, so we really want to give that individual service to our clients. And the benefit of it is that the clients have that, the property is individual reserved for our clients, right? There is a smaller group of interest parties, which makes it easier for everyone, right? So, I mean, if you're having a property on Immobilienscout for a great price, and if we compare that with Munich, I mean, you know how it is here. Like, imagine there are 20 people coming at the same time to see that property. Probably out of 20, 10 remain, right? And at the end, there are just 3 people who really want to buy this property. And what happens at that time, in most cases, the bidding process starts, right? So sometimes you end up paying way more for the property than before, than even for off-market property. So this is, I would say, kind of a concern, because you want to also go with that, with the other buyers. You wanna show that you can go ahead with the price. You can bid more. But I'm a fan, and my clients also love that we can offer the off-market properties.
This is what really started. When was it, like 2018, 19, 20 or something, when sellers learned that if they basically start an auction and a bidding war, they can scrape way much from the property, which is insane if you think about it, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, you also have to, if you go for a property on Immobilienscout, again, you have to do all the examination. You have to do all the research, right? And sometimes it looks very nice in the beginning, and then it ends up not really make a profit for you. So, I mean, check both, but I'm a fan of off-market properties for sure.
Less competition. We will talk more about this owning a home in one of the next videos, so let's focus on real estate investors here. When buying a property from the real estate websites, you usually have to take care of everything yourself, right? Tenant and whatnot. In many videos, we tell people that that's a bad idea, which is also what you mentioned, because they severely underestimate the amount of work that comes with owning a property. So maybe, can you give us a little bit more details about the self-management versus buying a managed property?
I can. Yes, I can. Definitely, I can. There are concerns and challenges when you're investing by yourself into a property. For example, how could you even afford such a property? That's the first question for many people, right? So you have to go through a calculation, right? So you have to see, is this really the right investment for me? Second concern will be probably, where do I find such a property? Because most people think, oh, it had to be close to me, it had to be in front of my door. But in some cases, it's just not the right one for you, right? You end up paying way more, you don't like it. It's from the data or from the numbers doesn't make any sense, right?
If people are just looking across their street for available properties, they're just severely limiting themselves for actually no reason, because there's a lot of good properties all around Germany, but maybe there's none available in your street or in your area currently.
Exactly, and this is the thing, because people think, oh, I have to do it close to me, I have to do it in my area in front of my door. Perfect. It's not going to happen, right? In most cases, this doesn't happen. And this is why people, as you say, they limit themselves really to look around, to look in Germany. There are great areas, there are great cities where you can even benefit from that property, where you're having a great cash flow. So my suggestion also, don't limit yourself in that. But of course, this is another question. Also, where to find reliable constructor or handymans if a renovation is due. So imagine, I don't know, the tenant calls you actually at 3 o'clock in the morning and says, my toilet flush just broke. You can wait with that for weeks or months.
What am I going to do about it?
Right, so you're going to be like, oh, I want to sleep at that time. But the thing is that even for this, for all the craftsmen, it's super hard to get an appointment with them right now. You will need to wait for weeks or months. And this type of damage, you can't wait.
You can't wait.
You can't wait. You have to do it right away.
Also, if the heater breaks right now, you can't wait. Otherwise, the tenant has a legal right to not pay rent.
Exactly, but I mean, if the heater breaks right now with those temperatures, what we're having, it's a big concern, big concern. So, also, you don't know if the tenant, it might happen, the tenant doesn't pay the rent. What happens? You have to pay. Right? You have to pay way more to the bank than usual. So this is also a big challenge, what I see.
And just to show you that we practice what we preach, I live in Munich, the business is in Munich, and just recently I bought a property in Düsseldorf. So I'm not buying in Munich either, just because I'm living here.
Exactly, exactly. I think it's a great topic, what you just said. But also the financing part, I believe the financing part is the heart of an investment. Really, very, very important. I mean, you can confirm that as well.
Will make or break your investment. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. I always say the heart of this investment, because if this is not right, the whole investment is not good.
And the right financing is not about the lowest interest rate. That's what people get wrong all the time.
That's true. We're going to talk about this also later, comparing the rents, the interest rates. But very important. And also, again, reserves, check the reserves, what property manager is behind that. So these are all concerns, what you have to do if you do it by yourself. And one of the big factors, and very important, Germany gives you, again, so much benefits. The legal situation tells you, okay, you're creating space for people here. We're going to give you all these tax advantages. And you have to be on top of it. And for someone who's not from here, even due to the language, knows about the laws and the rights here, you end up paying way more, right? You don't even receive any money back from the government. So really use that. And having someone who manages your property, you can get all this package in one. So you don't really have to worry about. If you do it by yourself, you have to be on top of that. You have to get that knowledge. I mean, I always say knowledge is key, that's for sure. But time, again, we don't have that much time nowadays, and it's very important really to think about it. I'm a fan for a managed property. I would do that. Just have a peace of mind, and there's someone else who takes care of my property.
A great example is a lawyer here in Germany that advertises, sometimes in front of our real estate videos, basically talking to tenants that they should send him their rental contracts, and then he's gonna sue the landlord because there's always a mistake, right? And this is why I wouldn't draft a rental contract myself or wouldn't download one from the internet. And this is also why I think a managed property is severely better, especially for expats with a language barrier. Because what are they going to do about it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the tenants are very protective here in Germany. You know that, as I mentioned right now with the lawyer. There are certain offices here in Germany, they protect the tenants as well. So you as a tenant can go there, sued for whatever reason, and as you mentioned also with the contract, I mean, there are plenty of contracts online to download it. I wouldn't do that either, because again, you have to be on top of all the laws and rules. Also, you have the option to increase the rent, right? Every 2 to 3 years, up to 20%. And you want to be on top of that. I mean, it's work, right? So you have to see, is it the right contract I'm putting in, or should I put something else? So,
is it outdated?
Exactly. So if you really want to get a benefit out of that, get a professional, get an expert. I mean, our clients love that. We're going to talk about that option as well, but they love that, having a peace of mind and saying, okay, there's someone else who takes care of this, right?
For just a couple of euros per month.
Really, I mean, you can even deduct that on taxes as well. So at the end, it's just a zero.
So we heard something good and something bad about these real estate websites, right? As with everything, everything has positives and negatives. Nothing's perfect in this world. But people watching, if they're coming to terms now and say, okay, I get it what those two are saying, buying a random property just from the internet is probably not the way to go. Vanesa, what's the alternative? Where do people find properties then?
Right, that's tricky sometimes. I would always suggest maintain your network, right? Source of influence, I always say. Get together with people who know about the market, the real estate market, like real estate agents, appraisals, property managers, banks, right? Get to know these people, talk to them about that, right? Be open also to talk to people who already invested into real estate, because this will help you understand everything better. And it will not help you to talk to people and listen to people who never done it, right? This is a very important thing, because sometimes we listen to people, but they actually never did it. Not really in real estate, but in many more things, as you can also.
And they have always the greatest tips.
Exactly, and then they come up and say, oh, my friend said that, oh, my uncle, my mother, my father. I mean, it's good to get other opinions, but get these opinions from the right people, very important. And also by partnering with me, I mean, you will receive a personalized one-on-one assessment, right? Also a solution for your needs and for your situation. This is very important, because it doesn't make sense for me really to offer anything to my clients that doesn't make sense. So it's very important to check before even the financial status or situation. Also, I would say also the mindset and everything. So everything should be personalized and really look after the needs and the situation. And you're having someone who's being with you along the process, which is very important. So imagine having someone by your side, especially in this type of process, because purchasing a property in Germany is quite a longer process, I would say, but it's very secure. Like, again, Germany is a very secure country, and purchasing a property is super secure as well. So having someone by your side makes it even better. You have more comfort, right? So.
Because it's a big decision, right? It's probably the biggest decision that you do ever in your entire life. It's a decision worth hundreds of thousands of euros.
Exactly. I mean, many people are investing in other things as well, but purchasing a property needs knowledge, needs experts, and having someone by your side, it just makes it easier for our clients. And they're happy. I mean, you can confirm that. They're really happy having someone on the hand and supporting them along the way.
So great that you mentioned it, that people can work together with us to buy their first property. Let's get a little more specific. How can we help people in detail?
So by using our full service concept, which means we taking care of this property, all the work what is behind that investment, we taking care. And that way our clients have that peace of mind. They can still invest, they'll still the homeowners of this, but it's just the whole work behind that. They don't have to deal with that. So with that being said, we do the property management, we do the technical and commercial administration. We do the development of this property, which means we bring the property to the next level and get the maximum out of it, right? We do new rentals. So if the tenant moves out, we bring a new one in, right? And that way you don't have that vacancy. Also, the communication with the tenant. What I mentioned before, it's not going to be a tenant who's going to call you at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, please, can you fix my toilet flush? It's going to be us, right? So this is a full service concept what we offer. And I mean, why not to start today with that? Start building your generational wealth, right? There's not going to be the right time. I mean, in everything. You can plan certain things, but let's be honest, Axel, real estate was expensive 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, right? It's always going to be expensive because it is you're investing into assets, and this asset grows in value, and it's always going to be. And this is also important to know. I mean, the sooner the better, and it's never going to be too late to do that.
That's right. I would have loved to buy a property 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago with better interest rate, but that's just not the reality right now. That's why I bought just in December.
Exactly. And I mean, a lot of people think, oh, I really want to go back to the past, how it was. I really want that happen again. This interest rate, what we have, it's not going to happen again. I mean, we have to really realize the actual present right now and plan for the future, which is very important, really to live in the present and plan for the future and not think what happened before. I mean, our parents, how many times they say, we should have done it, we should have done this and that. It's not going to happen.
Should have, would have, could have, yeah.
Exactly. That's a perfect word for it. So I believe also with this full service concept, you having, as an investor, as a buyer, having peace of mind, which you can still do other things, working, family, traveling, whatever, and having a partner who's actually managing for you.
So basically, if people don't want to do anything, they don't have to do it. We're not forcing them.
No, but it's a great option. I mean, did you have that option a couple, like, let's say 10 years ago? You didn't really have that option. You had to do everything by yourself. And nowadays, you're having this option, and why not to use it? Take that. I mean, if I can compare a little bit also with funds and ETFs, I mean, I'm a fan of all kind of passive incomes. You also having in ETFs, you're having someone who's doing that for you, right? And why not having that for investment purpose in a real estate? Go for it. If everything is transparent and if the numbers and data and facts make sense, go for it, for sure.
Vanesa, thank you very much for the interview. It was a pleasure for me.
Very nice. Thank you so much for having me here. It was a great interview with you, especially with a great view here over Munich. So thank you for having me here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to work with you guys.
And if you want to meet with Vanesa, there's a link down in the description below. Have fun, guys.